Thank you, Your Excellency. It's a joy to be able to spend some time with you. It's one thing to hear the bishop give an 8-minute homily when we see him during the year, but it's another for him to share his thoughts of love for the time that he has with us here. And he was actually back by popular demand. As we were planning the event, many of the Catholic school leaders expressed an interest in hearing him again. So the last time he was with you was a couple of years ago when he reflected on, if I could joggle your memory here, on an encyclical letter by John Paul II called Veritatis Splendor. Do you remember that? Splendor of Truth? Where he came and spoke a few words about John Paul II's moral thought. So again, thank you, Bishop Vasha, for spending time with us today. I'm actually going to take a minute, since I have some time here, to be Mr. Catechist for a moment. And for the sake of especially those not within our Catholic tradition, you may wonder, what is a bishop? And in perhaps also for those of us of the Catholic faith, this is a good little refresher. But what we see here is in the Bible from Acts of the Apostles, one of the terms that was used to describe the people that replaced the first 12 apostles chosen by Jesus. Do you remember how Jesus chose 12 apostles? Right? And then one of them betrayed him. But as they replaced themselves, they chose others, and the Bible calls them, there's a Greek word in Acts chapter 1 called episkopoi. Episkopoi was used to describe the office of the overseer or the supervisor, or in English we translate that as bishop. And one of those 12 was chosen to be the leader of the 12 apostles, as we heard in today's gospel at Mass. Peter, or his name was actually Simon, and then when Jesus said, "Who do people say that I am?" Simon Peter said, "You are the Christ." And Christ changed Simon's name to Peter. And Peter became the first father, or the first papa, or the first, as we translate it in English, the first pope. And our tradition was that Peter went to Rome eventually, and he was crucified upside down on a hill called the Vatican. The person that replaced him, and the person that replaced him as the episkopoi of Rome, we can see this all the way down to our time in the person of the office of who is our Papa now in the Catholic Church in Rome, Pope Francis. So if you go backwards from Francis to the Pope before him, Benedict, to the Pope before him, John Paul II and John Paul I, and then Paul VI, John the 23rd, Pius XII, and you go backwards 266 times, you will all ultimately find a line of succession to Peter, Simon Peter. And actually, for those of you who teach history, you know that a couple of years ago, or a number of years ago, they found evidence of somebody that looked like the bones of a fisherman under St. Peter's. And so the office of the episkopoi is also shared with the others that were chosen to be their successors. And to this day, from those 12 apostles, we now have all over the world 6,000 episkopoi, or bishops, that can be traced all the way back to the 12 apostles. And this is something that the Catholic Church uniquely claims. And so, in a sense, on a conference on the sacraments and liturgy, this, by the way, is a cool way to help our students remember what is a sacrament. A sacrament is an outward sign instituted by Christ to give me grace. Or you can say, instituted by Christ, an outward sign gives me grace. Or gives me grace, instituted by Christ, outward sign. Boom, boom, boom. And so in a sense, if you were to shake the hand of a bishop, in a sense you're kind of touching his successor or his predecessor, the guy that came before him, and before him, all the way back to the 12 apostles, and of course, Jesus Christ himself. So that is a brief explanation of what is a bishop. So since we have him here, and during the course of the day, feel free to say hello to him and talk. I find him to be a very friendly guy, and I know during our staff meetings he's very personable and funny, and so do get to know him, and he's very happy to be of service to you. I'm going to ask Deacon Dance and Kim to come up for Grace Before Meals. I see them here with Principal Shanahan from St. Bernard's in Eureka. We also have a similar event that we do there every other year or so. Principal Shanahan, thank you for coming from Eureka. So, so if we can have the lovely couple come up to lead us in Grace Before Meals, we will then enjoy not just nourishing our souls, but also our bodies in a few moments. Deacon Dance and Kim, thank you.
Thank you so much, Deacon.